The guilt is static, I'm pushing past it. It's automatic to try and control. Isn't it tragic, the way we pack it up in a box?
이 진영이 가장 요리를 그래도 이제 평소에 많이 하시니까 그래도 잘하시잖아요.
Like a friend I know.
그래서 진영이 이렇게 메인 요리사가 되고 저희가 이제 서브 셰프.
영광입니다. 함께하게 돼서.
So beautiful flood of emotion. Convince myself that I've got time to take a pause. Nothing wrong. We're feeling it all.
A chronic crisis, I recognize it. I'm on the verge of my nerves overload. Could stay distracted, but I know what happens. When I look past it, the pain only grows. Used to fight it, now I find it like a friend I know. Hit a wall, so I fall. Lay down, embracing the moment. Waterfalls, sting of salt. Beautiful flood of emotion. Convince myself that I've got time to take a pause. Nothing wrong, we're feeling it all. Feel it again and again. Standing the tide as a crashing tin. Hit a wall, so I fall. Lay down, embracing the
하시는 분들 보면 앞치마를 많이 사용하시더라고요.
그래요?
beautiful flood of emotion. Convince myself that I've got time to take a pause. Nothing wrong, we're feeling it all.
지씨. 한번 해주세요.
뭐라고요?
Again and again. Standing the tide as a crashing tin. Hit a wall, so I fall. Lay down, embracing the moment. Waterfalls, sting of salt. Beautiful flood of emotion. Convince myself that I've got time to take a pause. Nothing wrong. Hit a wall, so I fall. Lay down, embracing the moment. Waterfalls, sting of salt. Beautiful flood of emotion. Convince myself that I've got time to take a pause. Nothing wrong. We're feeling it all.
뭐 하세요?
참기름을 좀 둘렀어요.
잘하셨어요. 원래는 냄비에 하는데 그냥 여기서 한 다음 저는 기름을 버리는 편이라
아, 원래
여기서 한 뒤에 기름을 버리고 냄비로 옮기죠. 자, 볶아주세요.
네.
조심하세요. 지시. 조심하세요. 지시.
Stop, wait a minute.
다 됐어요.
I feel so divine. Tell you about it. What is different this time? What you think of him all night long?
식으로 한번 만들어 드려도 되겠습니까?
그럼 전 대구식으로 한번 만들어 볼까요?
The way you look tonight, I can't keep this feeling.
전 대구식으로 한번 만들어 볼까요?
좋아요. 두 잔 만들면
할 줄
되죠.
모른다고요?
저 할 수 있어요.
아 그래요?
Can't let time pass away. Dreams of a city lights and ocean view.
두 잔 만들면
할 줄
되죠.
모른다고요?
저 할 수 있어요.
아 그래요?
House for two. You pass by one look. I can't stop that smile from my face.
기도하시나요? 아, 꿀 넣고 있었구나.
Let's bring ahead a house for two. You pass by one look. I can't stop that smile from
어떤 게 더 맛있는지 한번 평가를 해주실 수
그걸
있겠어요?
형이 한번 해볼래요?
제가요.
your hometimes ways we try to talk. Get help with the way we don't see the same. If only it was true. And you got me thinking I should go. And you got me thinking I know the way you look tonight.
형씨 국물만 한번
이건
보시겠어요?
빨대로
아직
먹는 게 아니죠.
절 우러나긴 했는데
느껴봤어. 아 조금 더 달아야
절 우러나긴
되는데.
했는데
Tonight, can't let
다시
time
나이 진짜.
pass away. Dreams of the city lights and ocean views. The spring ahead and house for two. You pass by, one look. I can't stop and smile.
아, 맛있네요.
My face, yeah. Dreams of the city lights and ocean views. The spring ahead and house for two. You pass by.
그게 대구식이에요?
Oh, I can't stop the smile from my face.
이거 잘못하는 거. 아니요, 목욕탕에서 많이 먹던 맛이에요. 목욕탕에 이런 거 팔아요.
진짜 이거 딱 그거예요.
이런 미숫가루도 있어요. 근데 저는 여기에 설탕이랑 꿀 덜 들어간 버전에 여기서 우유 탄 버전을 선호합니다.
I can't let time pass away. Dreams of the city lights and ocean views. The spring ahead and house for two. You pass by.
아,
I can't stop that smile from my face. Yeah. Dreams of the city lights and ocean views. The spring ahead and house for two. You pass by.
누구에게 쓴 편지일까요? 얘에게 쓴
I can't
편지일까요?
stop that
이 앨범.
smile from my face.
아니야? 그게 아니야. 별론가요?
아니야.
사실 맛 안 봐서 모르겠습니다.
아니야.
아, 부산식이 제일 맛있는데.
부산은 그냥 맹물인데요.
아, 부산식이 제일 맛있는데.
부산은 그냥 맹물인데요.
서울식이 내가 아는 미숫가루구만 무슨.
Let me get a picture of your smile. Look into the camera through the peace sign. Don't give me that look, it got me wild. You know that I love you, no surprise. She says she don't wanna lose me. I've been feeling different lately. Can't believe that she's my baby. Swear to God, this feels like movie. I know this is kinda crazy. How we fell in love is magic. Can't believe that she's my baby. Swear to
대현 씨 면을 한 가닥 드셔보세요. 아니야. 면을 한 가닥 드셔보세요. 익었어요?
まだ俺は波に乗れてないけどまたこうやってお茶したりまたどっか他のところに行ったり
We were walking by the lake, then I lit my cigarette, and you got pretty angry. Then you say you hit.
지금 이 시점에서 함께라는 단어는 어떤 의미인가요, 진 씨?
저는 그 멤버분들이 오시기 전에 솔로 활동을 조금 했잖아요. 근데 확실히 솔로 활동을 하면은 혼자 할 때는 이런 감정을 느끼지 못한단 말이에요.
I've been feeling different lately. Can't believe that she's my baby.
멤버들과 함께여서 너무 즐겁고
I know this is kinda crazy. How we fell in love is magic. Can't believe that she's my baby. Swear to God, this feels like movie.
また今度
너무 즐겁고 행복하고 가슴이 뛰는 것 같아서
Let me get a picture of your smile. Look into
심사받는 것 같네요.
また今度また波に乗ったり、まだ俺は波に乗れてないけど、またこうやってお茶したり、またどっか他のところに行ったり。
We were walking by the lake, then I lit my cigarette, and you got pretty angry. Then you say you hit my face. I always say something stupid, and you laugh at what I said. Glad to have you every day, and I love you till the death. Yeah, yeah.
임석신 씨? 임석신 씨?
네.
I've been feeling different lately.
승조님.
감사합니다. 감사합니다.
God, this feels like moving. I know this is kinda crazy. How we fell in love is magic. Can't believe that she's my baby. Swear to God, this feels like moving.
The sun still shines through my window. In the morning when I rise, I feel beautiful as ever. In this masterpiece of love, beautiful imperfection, make us the real deal. Beautiful imperfection, make us timeless still. I planted in my garden before the season came. 'Cause all things work out for the good, and I know that seasons change. One thing remains, beautiful imperfection, falling for you. Sidestep, day trip, pulling me both ways like a cyclone. I think it might happen any day. What do I know? I don't have it your way. Got me for you, falling for you, falling for you. Tell me, do you love hard courtyard, dressed in white one day on a tight rope? My mind spinning, please wait. What do I know? I don't have it your way. Got me falling for you, falling for you. Tell me, do you? You said things were different. What made you change it up? How could I believe what you're showing me? Yeah. Call me up, said I was dangerous. Toss up, have you lost the trust? How could I not see you're not the man you used to be? Two steps, one back. Oh, you got it like that. Back four, set the score. What are we here for? Heart closed, tongue tied. Can't help these feelings that I got. Got me falling hard like sidestep, day trip, pulling me both ways like a cyclone. I think it might happen any day. What do I know? I don't have it your way. Got me falling for you, falling for you. Tell me, do you love hardcore yard, dressed in white one day on a tight rope? My mind spinning, please wait. What do I know? I don't have it your way. Got me falling for you, falling for you. Tell me, do you? What happened? Did we lose the spark? Didn't know that love could feel so far. How could I believe you're not in front of me? Crazy, like we never know. Stay soft, pretend my eyes are closed. How could I not see you're not the man you used to be? Two steps, one back. Oh, you got it like that. Front porch, outdoor, flowers on the floor. Yeah. Heart closed, tongue tied. Can't be feeling it. Got me falling in like a sidestep, day trip, pulling me both ways like a cyclone. I think it might happen any day. What do I know? I don't have it your way. Got me falling for you, falling for you. Tell me, do you love hardcore yard, dressed in white one day on a tight rope? My mind spinning, please wait. What do I know? I don't have it your way. Got me falling for you, falling for you. Tell me, do you love hardcore yard, dressed in white one day on a tight rope? My mind spinning, please wait. What do I know? I don't have it your way. Got me falling for you, falling for you. Tell me, do you?
You know, in movies, when the couples fight, but that was just for a little while. Then I kissed your lips and I made you smile, girl. So I'm hoping now we're good. Say my name, yeah, and everybody's wondering who's that guy. Oh, it's funny, 'cause I'm nobody, but I'm yours, and you mine. So, oh babe, I'm jumping out my seat for you. Yeah, you got my heart racing, 'cause I said, kiss me on the mouth if you like. 'Cause I'm tired, but I just wanna dance in your brain. I love you, and I just wanna look in your eyes.
먹었습니다. 저는 어제 샤브샤브를 먹었습니다. 맛있는데? 맛있었습니다.
Jumping on my seat for you.
12시 반 정도에 잤습니다. 네, 감사합니다.
Kiss me on the mouth if you like. 'Cause sometimes
좋은데 그거? 끝이야? 네. 사랑합니다. 네, 끝입니다.
above you, and I just wanna look in your eyes.
여러분들 혹시 내일도 오시는 분 계세요? 오 진짜 많네. 그러면 이제 내일 못 오시는 분 계세요? 그래도 여기 오셨으니까 스트레스 마음껏 푸시고 가셔야죠. 스트레스 좀 풀리셨어요? 아 잠깐만 그 전에
I'm jumping out my seat for you. 'Cause I said, kiss me on the mouth if you like. 'Cause sometimes I just wanna dance in the rain.
저 카메라.
I just wanna look in your eyes. I could have married you if you wanted me to. We were both at different places in our lives, and I knew that it wasn't the same.
이게
Different memories. Every time that I see you acting up, it's so different to me. Better than me. I just hope that you wanted it too. Don't say it's not easy enough for the both of us. 'Cause I know how you feel when you're not yourself. When you're down and out. Don't say it's not easy enough for the both of us. 'Cause I know how you feel when you're not yourself.
피아노 레슨을 가볼까 합니다. 피아노 선생님 구합니다. 여기서?
저희도 이제
이거 세레나데 같은 거 알죠?